Hey, hey! Welcome back to the channel. My name is Meredith. Thank you so much for being here. Today we're going to be discussing something a little bit out of left field. You guys have heard of TikTok, right? You're familiar? Lately there's been this conversation happening on there about books in general, and readers, and some relatively controversial opinions that some readers have that are leading others to wonder if these people really even enjoy reading or not. And I have extensive thoughts and feelings about this, and they might not be the thoughts and feelings that you're expecting. I just thought it'd be a fun thing for us to chat about. Check in on the book talk girlies, see what's going on, see what the discourse is, and throw my hat in the ring. Make sure you like and subscribe as always, and follow me on Instagram. I'm trying to beef up my Instagram a little bit. Hopefully we'll be posting on there more. I'm gonna try and take more photos. It's not in my nature, truthfully. Sit and jibber jab for 45 minutes about some random thing happening on TikTok that does not concern me at all. No problem. Take one photo of myself? Well, now you're just asking for too much. But I am trying to post a little bit more on there, and I would appreciate it if you guys followed. Enough of that. Let's get into the drama. What is happening on Book Talk? What is going on with the girlies? Well, there's a few different people who are posting videos kind of along the same vein that have kicked off this conversation. Basically, there was this one TikTok where this girl was talking about the amount of words that were on a page in a book she was reading, and she was saying, I don't like my pages full of so many words. Look at how many words there are.
In my last video, when I asked you what book you guys think I should be reading, you all yelled at me and said Six of Crows is what you're supposed to read. It's the best book fucking ever. So anyway, I trusted you and I started it last night. Do I have an update for you? I mean, not really. I'm on page 34. Can we talk about something real quick though? Can I just talk shit for a second? Why the fuck is this book? First of all, the writing is so tiny. Second of all, why are the pages so filled with so many words? Like, what the fuck? I like pages that aren't filled with this many words. Like, literally, every page is like, look at this! Are you fucking kidding me?
And then there were a few other videos of people talking about skimming through chapters if the chapter is too long or if they have too much until the end, just reading the dialogue or just trying to catch key points. And this has caused a reaction of a lot of people to basically say, do you even like reading? Which is fair given what some of these creators were saying. Now, I'm going to separate out these two things. The thing about there being so many words on the page in a book and the thing about skimming through if a chapter is too long. We're going to talk about them separate, but I think I'm going to take this video in a direction you're not expecting, because fundamentally, I do believe that these creators are doing something called rage baiting. It's when you intentionally say something that you know is going to cause controversy in order to bring views to your channel. Now, a lot of people think about rage baiting when it comes to creators doing really controversial things and really messed up things just to stir up controversy and people talking about them to get the eyes on their content. But rage baiting happens in small forms all the time. And I think we think of rage baiting as wrong, but I genuinely think if you're out there and you want to be a content creator, really strategic rage baiting can sometimes be a very good thing. And if you are not hurting anybody, and if whatever you're saying is not, I'll use the word problematic for lack of a better one, then who cares? I will admit to hoping that some of my more feminist videos end up on the incel side of YouTube, because if I piss them off and they got in the comments and were like commenting about how much they hate me and how stupid I am, it would push my video out to the algorithm. I'd be getting a bunch of comments, I'd be getting a bunch of views, and then it would blow my channel up. I will admit to deep down hoping that eventually those men stumble upon my videos and decide they hate me, because I don't care if they hate me. In fact, I kind of want them to. If they don't hate me, then I'm doing something wrong. So let them hate me, let them comment about how much they hate me, so that I get those sweet views in the algorithm. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's what these creators were doing. Book Talk already is judged so much for the fact that it is predominantly women who recommend predominantly smut to each other. Book Talk is a place where you can find the spiciest books on planet Earth. And spicier books tend to, not always, but they tend to not be as well written as books that get popular for other reasons. So some people who maybe aren't as into smut take recommendations off of Book Talk and get this whole attitude about how bad Book Talk is at recommending books. If you don't like smut, Book Talk is very bad at recommending books. If you love smut, Book Talk is the place to go to get your recs. But this opinion and the hate on romance novels and smut in general does have its basis in misogyny. It is predominantly a community made by women for women that encourages encourages sexual exploration and understanding, making it something that the incels just despise. And so there is a lot of commentary out there about how BookTok is stupid and getting recommendations off of BookTok is stupid and how the girls on BookTok can't read. I don't know for sure, but my theory is that these ladies are taking advantage of that by making these videos that imply that they don't actually like to read that much in order to sort of garner this reaction from those men to push their videos into the algorithm. You see what I'm saying? That being said, some of the things that they're describing are actually things that I think actually do make sense for readers to say. I know that sounds weird. Now you might be thinking, Meredith, you're an avid reader. How can you agree with the girl who said there are sometimes too many words on a page? Isn't that the point of a book? Is to have words on the pages and you read the words? Well, yeah, but any avid reader will tell you that the font, the spacing of the words, and how many words are packed onto the page actually do have a significant impact in your enjoyment of that book. That is a very serious decision for publishers and authors alike to make. For example, just to show you how serious this is for me, I literally looked down, saw the spine of this book right here under the table in front of me, and thought, oh, that's the perfect book to show what I mean, because I remember that this book has its words way too close together and it has way too many words on the page. This is my copy of Don Quixote. I have not read it. Once upon a time, I was thinking about doing a series where I read, I'm holding it upside down. Once upon a time, I thought I was going to do a series on classics. I got 300 pages into Les Mis, made a video about it, never followed it up. I still mean to. From the bottom of my heart, I'm going to continue that series. And I'm going to read Don Q and make videos about it at some point. Look at this. Look at this. That's crazy. Look at... Did I already start this? A bookmark just fell out of this. I don't think I've read a page of this. I don't know why that bookmark was in there. But I do feel like it makes a difference. This one's not maybe that egregious an offender, although it is pretty bad. I know my copy of The Body Keeps the Score actually is the one that comes to mind as being really, really bad, but it's up there. Oh, I guess I'll be a good YouTuber and go get it. Ignore my pajama pants. Okay, look at this. I guess that's actually kind of the same as Don Q. Maybe there was no point to going to get this, but you see what I mean? And I have a theory as to why this actually is, okay? Showing you Don Q again. Yeah, I guess they're equally as bad. Now, if we compare these to my copy of A Love Song for Ricky Wilde, look at that. Look at the difference. And it does matter, and I will not let any of you convince me that it does not matter. And here's my theory as to why. I think when words are too close to each other on the page, it's hard for your brain to read a word in isolation. It takes more brain power to read a book where the words are closer together because your brain is absorbing the other words as well, at least in my opinion. You're trying to read the one word in isolation, but there's all this text so close to it that you have to really deliberately look at the word and just read that one word as opposed to absorbing what's around it. Reading a book is also an activity that typically takes people a while. You might be nursing one book for weeks, months, if not years at points, and you want to feel like you're making progress. Human beings are very dopamine-driven creatures. We want to feel like we're making progress. We want that dopamine hit. Turning a page makes a difference. Ending a chapter also makes a difference. If there's too many words on the page and it takes you too long to read an entire page, you will generally feel like you are making slower progress in that book than you would have been if the words were further apart. If all of the chapters in a book are too long, this has the same effect. Pacing is really important in a book the same way that it is in a movie or a TV show or a video game. But I think it applies slightly different in books. It's not just important for the plot to happen at a good pace, but the chapters also need to be generally a good length. You don't want them all to be exactly the same length, but you also don't want them to be too short or too long too frequently. You have to be very diligent as an author to kind of be mixing up the length of your chapters. You gotta make sure you have some long ones to be able to explore some things more in depth, because if all the chapters are really short, then you might not ever really get super deep into what it is you want to say. But if the chapters are too long, the reader doesn't really feel like they're making progress. And they might get frustrated, they might put the book down. They might not even really realize the chapters are long, they just might kind of feel like they're slugging through the book without even really understanding why, even if they find the plot interesting. So you can't have all of your chapters be super long, but you can't have them all be super short either. You've really got to mix it up. And I think the same applies to words on a page. Now, Don Quixote has been around forever. There's no copyright on this. Anybody can print this. Nobody owns this story anymore. The problem with Don Quixote is that it is a really, 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 really long book. This copy is still 900 pages, despite the words being that close together. So if the words were farther apart, you can imagine how thick the copy of the book would look. So the publishers have to balance how easy the words are on the page to read and how they are spaced out with how thick they want the book to look on the shelf so that it's not so intimidating that somebody doesn't pick this up. So it's a balance. It's balancing how long it would take the reader to read each page versus balancing whether or not they pick it up. Now, something like Don Quixote, this is not a new book, as I've established. I believe it was published in the 1600s originally. So they are not worried about people reviewing this book well. I don't think publishers are worried about like getting good reviews on Don Q. They're worried about people buying it. That's probably why a publisher would decide to go more words on a page, make the book look skinnier, make people pick up this copy instead of a different copy of it because it looks shorter, it feels less intimidating. And if they slog through it and they don't end up enjoying the reading process, they bought the book anyway. And that's why we hate capitalism. So while I do believe that girl was rage baiting, and I do believe that especially with like the voice that she's using and the way she's talking about the book, I do think she's just trying to get incels to comment and call her stupid. I genuinely believe that's what she was going for. But I think her point is based in some merit. I do think that sometimes these publishers put too many words on one single page, they cram the words close together, and it makes the books harder to read and it makes it a less enjoyable reading process. So I defend my queen. I think she had a point. Now let's talk about the girls who talk about like skimming through chapters or only reading dialogue or kind of skipping ahead in books if the chapter is too long. This was another thing that caused people to kind of go, seems like you don't like reading very much. And I actually think that this perspective is a symptom of a deeper problem in the readers community, one that I've spoken about before and one that I will continue to talk about until the day that I die. If you only learn one thing from me in this whole entire channel, in everything I've ever shown you, if the only thing you ever take away from one of my videos is that it is okay to DNF a book you're not enjoying, then I will feel like I did my job. I will feel like I did my duty. Too many readers are so attached to finishing the books that they start. I know that sounds like a crazy take. Sometimes you think you're gonna like a book and then you start it and you were wrong. Sometimes we spent money on that book, so we don't want to put it down because we feel like we spent money on it. Sunk cost fallacy. Or it could be like a weird form of punishment where you're like mad at yourself for buying the book when you didn't end up enjoying it, so now you feel like you have to finish reading it to almost teach yourself to pick a better book next time. Either way, it truly doesn't help you at all to try and shove yourself through a book that you're not enjoying. If you're not enjoying it, then just put it down. Admit you're not enjoying it. Go sell it to a used bookstore. Go donate it to a library and move on with your life and read something else. Occasionally, especially in these Stormlight Archives books, I'll get to a chapter where I don't really care about the character whose storyline is happening in that chapter, and I will just get this desire to completely skip the chapter and skip ahead. Now, there's so much information in the Stormlight Archives that ends up becoming important that I have not done that up to this point, but I can empathize. I can empathize with reaching like a single chapter that you just don't want to read and you want to get past it and you kind of skim. But if you're finding that that chapter is every single chapter, just put the book down. Put the book down, you don't want to read it. Pick up something else. You wouldn't force yourself through a TV show you don't want to watch just because you watched the first episode. Like, why do we think of books as different? If you're not having fun, you're not having fun. This is your hobby. Enjoy your hobby, have fun, put down books that you're not enjoying reading. You do not have to continue reading a book if you're not having fun with it. And the last thing I really have to say about this whole thing kind of ties back to the first point that I made about thinking that these videos are rage bait a little bit. I want to do a longer video essay about the impressions we have on reading as a whole and the pedestal that we put reading as a hobby up on in our society. But we have this really weird view of reading in America that it's the super intellectual hobby that you have to be like smart to do. And I genuinely think that that is why a lot of people don't read, because they think that reading is about educating yourself. They think that reading is about bettering yourself as a person. Let me tell you, when I show you the books I'm reading for fun, we are not getting any better. We're getting worse. We're losing brain cells in the process. For me, reading is mostly about relaxing. I do love a book that makes me think. I love a book that makes me learn. And I do force myself through books I don't necessarily want to read if I want to do a video on them. But when I read for fun, I'm reading for fun. And I want to be having fun. And I wish that more people saw it that way. I think that that would lead to less hate to the BookTokers. And I also think that it generally would lead to more people reading, which when you look at our society, I think we need that badly. We're so illiterate. You might be wondering, Meredith, you just said reading wasn't about educating yourself. So why do you think that more people reading stupid books would lead to a more educated populace? I'm so glad you asked, and that's why I want to do a deeper dive into it. But I genuinely believe that while reading in and of itself does not have to actively be teaching you anything, there is a lot of evidence to the fact that reading is good for your brain. And reading books and understanding the words in them and understanding the message that the author was trying to get across and understanding what's happening within the book does, I think, lead to people being more media literate and maybe reading a news article and being able to recognize that that news article is rage bait and that there's some stuff in it that might be stretched, that might be adjacent to the truth, not so untrue that the author of the article could get in trouble, but like just untrue enough to confuse people and befuddle them. And I do think that if more people read more often, we would have less of that. So I do think more people should read, and I think the way to help more people read is to explain to them that reading is supposed to be fun. It's a fun hobby. It's something you can do to relax, and when you pick up books that you enjoy, then you will find that it is easy for you to relax while you are reading them. And it might help you kind of roundabout in the long run become more literate in general, including media literacy. Let me know if you guys would want that deeper dive into illiteracy in America and whether or not getting people to read more for fun would help with that. I would love to do a deeper dive video like that, but I only have so much time, and I'm working on a different deeper dive video right now that I hopefully will be posting here soon. I'm excited for you guys to see it. It's going to be a lot of fun. This video was kind of all over the place. I didn't really write a script. I just decided to talk out my thoughts, but I'm curious to see what you guys say. I feel like BookTok gets a lot of hate it just doesn't deserve. You got to understand what BookTok is for. The BookTok girlies are there to recommend you smut, and that's really what they're gonna do. And if you take the recommendations and you don't like smut, and so you don't end up liking the book, it just does kind of feel like maybe the BookTok recommendations aren't going to end up being for you, but that doesn't mean those girlies don't know how to read. And if some of them are capitalizing off of the fact that people believe BookTok girlies can't read very well, and they're pissing off the incels in order to make money, I support women's rights, but more importantly, I do support women's wrongs. And I support them in this, and it seems to have worked because a lot of people are talking about it. What do you guys think? Do you agree with me? Do you think they were being serious? Do you think they actually think some of these things, kind of like I was explaining, but they were intentionally playing it up in a way that they knew people were really going to react to? Or do you disagree with me? Do you think they actually want like a picture book's level of words on each page? Let me know. That's all for me today, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!